in the city of glass towers, where ambition carved empires and power decided destinies, stood a man named Arjun Mehra. To everyone else, he was the ruthless CEO, emotionless, unreadable, untouchable. A man whose footsteps could silence boardrooms, whose single glance made employees hold their breath. But no one knew the truth hidden beneath that flawless surface. No one knew that the coldest man in the building was quietly losing himself to a girl who didn't even realize she mattered to him. Her name was Ria. Every morning she walked toward his cabin, files clutched against her chest, her soft footsteps barely audible, her expression calm and collected, completely unaware that she was stepping straight into the storm she created inside him each day. She knocked gently before entering. "Good morning, sir," she said, offering a polite smile. She placed the file on his desk, opened her diary, her tone professional and composed. "Your schedule for today, sir. I made a few adjustments." Arjun lifted his eyes slowly, as if afraid that looking at her too quickly would expose everything he guarded more fiercely than his entire empire. He nodded, pretending to study the papers before him, pretending he wasn't hyper-aware of the soft scent she carried. Pretending she didn't shift the axis of his whole world just by standing there. To her, he was just her boss. To him, she was the one weakness he could never afford. Ria closed her diary, nodded politely, and walked toward the door. Through the glass wall, he watched her move to her desk, sunlight catching her hair, her focus shifting instantly to her work, her smile effortless as she greeted someone. She looked calm. Unaffected, completely untouched by the storm she left behind in him. The evening sun filtered through the tall windows of the Mehra mansion, casting long golden shadows across the study. Arjun sat behind his desk, sleeves rolled up, eyes fixed on a file. But even from the doorway, his mother could see the truth. He hadn't turned a page in the last 10 minutes. "Arjun, we need to talk," she said, gentle, yet carrying a quiet authority he had never been able to dismiss. He didn't look up. His gaze stayed on the file. "About what, Mom?" he asked, his tone deliberately calm, almost rehearsed. "About your life, your future, about marriage." Arjun's fingers went still, and for a moment the entire room seemed to hold its breath. "We've discussed this, Mom. I'm not interested," he said finally, his restraint sharp enough to cut. His mother exhaled, frustrated but refusing to back away. "You can't keep doing this, Arjun," she whispered. "You can't live like this forever. You need someone to share your life with, someone to love you and someone you will allow yourself to love, a life that isn't built entirely on responsibilities." The words settled heavily between them. Then, after a long moment, she finally asked the question she had been afraid to voice for years. "Tell me honestly, Arjun, is there someone? Is there a girl you're not telling me about? Is that why you keep refusing?" "Mom, please." The words slipped from him in a low, strained whisper, as if anything more would crack the walls he had spent years building. Because the only answer he had, the truth he couldn't admit even to himself, was Ria. His mother sighed, frustrated but deeply worried. "I've spoken to a few families," she said quietly, but with unmistakable finality. "And this time, no more excuses." The next morning, the office was buzzing softly with early footsteps and ringing phones. Arjun stood by the glass wall, staring out at the city below. Normally, that view grounded him. Today, it only reminded him of everything he stood to lose. The door swung open without a knock. Amit walked in, his childhood friend, the only person allowed to enter the CEO's room freely. "Arjun, I've been calling since morning," Amit said, his voice a mix of irritation and worry. But the moment his eyes fell on Arjun's expression, the annoyance faded. "Arjun, are you okay?" he asked softly, his voice laced with concern. "I'm not, Amit. I can't do this anymore." Amit exhaled, understanding already forming in his eyes. "Is it your mother again?" he asked. Arjun exhaled shakily and nodded. "She wants me to meet families. She's already spoken to them. She wants me to choose someone, marry someone, and I can't." He swallowed hard. Amit watched him quietly for a moment, then spoke with certainty. "Is it because of Ria?" Arjun's eyes widened, but he didn't deny it. He couldn't. 3 years, Amit. 3 years of watching her walk into my cabin every morning, pretending her smile doesn't undo me, pretending her voice doesn't shake the ground beneath my feet. He dragged a hand through his hair, frustrated with himself. "And every single day it gets harder to breathe around her." "Then tell her," Amit said firmly. "I can't," Arjun whispered. "She's my assistant." She sees me as her boss, maybe even someone she respects. Not someone who loves her, Amit finished for him. Arjun nodded helplessly. What if tell her and she doesn't feel the same? I'll lose her completely. I won't even have her in my life in the small ways I do now. And if you don't tell her, someone else will. And you'll stand there watching the only woman you've ever loved walk away because you were too afraid to speak. The words hit Arjun like a blow to the chest. Amit picked up his coat, ready to leave for his trip. I'm going out of town this week, he said, turning to him one last time. And before I return, you tell her, I don't care how terrified you are, I don't care how complicated it gets. You confess to her, Arjun. He paused at the door, his voice low but sharp. Or you'll regret it for the rest of your life. The door closed behind him with a quiet thud. But inside Arjun's chest, it felt like a storm had finally broken open. He stood her in front of the glass wall, watching her with a tenderness he could never reveal. Ria moved through the office with her usual calm grace, flipping through files, smiling politely at someone, and Arjun felt his chest tighten. Amit is right, I can't keep running from this, I have to tell her. The next morning, he called her into his cabin. The new client wants to have a meeting with us, he said casually, leaning against his desk, hiding the storm underneath. It's tomorrow afternoon. We'll go together and return by evening. All right, sir, I'll schedule everything, she said immediately, unaware of the tension coiling beneath his calm exterior. He gave her a few precise instructions. She nodded and turned to leave. Arjun's eyes followed her every step. His heartbeat pounded in his ears. Tomorrow, finally, he would tell her. The next day, they set off for the client meeting. The drive was tense, a quiet anticipation hanging between them. But halfway through, the skies darkened and a sudden storm broke. Car broke down. Ria's heart raced, fear gripping her chest. She fumbled for her phone to call her parents, but the signal was gone. Arjun kept his composure, though inside, his heart hammered against his ribs. It's okay, Ria, we'll find shelter. Don't worry, he said, his voice low, steady, and commanding, cutting through her fear. They spotted an abandoned house nearby and rushed inside, dripping and shivering. Ria tried to act brave, but the chill of the rain and the stress of the storm had already taken their toll. She didn't tell him she was running a fever, determined to appear fine. Later, in the dead of night, the storm outside showed no mercy. Ria's condition worsened. She tried to hold herself together, but the fever she had hidden all day and the cold rain had overwhelmed her. She collapsed into him, weak and shivering, and he caught her instinctively. Panic surged through Arjun as he felt her body turning colder, her breathing growing shallow. Ria, what happened to you? He shouted, fear rising in his chest. He checked her frantically, her skin icy yet burning with fever beneath. Ria, please open your eyes, he urged, his hands trembling as he rubbed her palms, held her close, trying to force warmth back into her frozen body. Each second stretched painfully long, each shallow breath twisting a knife deeper into him. Desperation clawed at him. He refused to lose her, not like this. He felt her trembling and pulled her closer, wrapping his coat around her, whispering her name again and again. And in that ruined house, surrounded by darkness and rain, the line between care and something deeper began to blur. Every boundary he had maintained for years crumbled in an instant. He held her tighter, heart pounding, a fire of desperation and longing igniting inside him. By the first light of dawn, as the storm softened and the world outside quieted, Arjun's arms were still around her. She was alive, breathing, but something between them had shifted irreversibly, something that could never be forgotten, never undone. Arjun woke with a jolt. Ria was still in his arms, still unconscious. Her skin was warmer now, but she didn't wake. Fear slammed into him all over again. Ria, please, he whispered, cupping her face, brushing the damp strands from her forehead. She remained still, her breathing faint. Panic tore through him. Help! Somebody please, I need help! He shouted into the misty morning air, his voice echoed through the quiet village road below. Within moments, a few villagers rushed toward the abandoned house, their steps crunching in the wet mud. They climbed up, shocked to see the drenched, feverish girl in his arms, and then their eyes shifted. They saw the disheveled clothes. The way Arjun held her, protective, ashamed, terrified. Their expressions hardened instantly. One man stepped forward, fury tightening his jaw. What have you done to this girl? Another spat angrily. You ruined her. You think you can come from the city and do whatever you want. This is our village. We don't allow such things. Arjun froze, his throat closing. No, it's not she was sick. Enough, an older villager thundered. You spent the night with her. Everyone can see what happened. You ruined a girl's honor. You have only two choices. Marry her today or we call the police. Arjun clenched his jaw, helpless, torn between truth and the harsh reality in their eyes. His throat burned, helplessness choking him, but the decision came instantly, because there was no choice. Please, he whispered, voice breaking. Don't call the police. He looked down at Ria, his vision blurring. I'll marry her. The villagers exchanged grim, satisfied nods. As two women stepped forward to lift Ria gently from his arms, Arjun followed, heart hammering, mind spinning, fate sealing itself around him with every step he took. They got married while Ria was still unconscious. When the final knot was tied, the villagers stepped back, satisfied yet cold. No one cared that the bride had never opened her eyes. No one cared that Arjun looked like a man who had been dragged to the edge of his own ruin. They only cared that their demand. Arjun lifted Ria into his arms, gently, protectively, as though she were made of glass. Her head rested against his chest, and even in her unconscious state, he felt the coldness of her skin cutting through him like a blade. When he reached home, the staff froze, eyes widening in shock. He simply carried her straight to his room, his footsteps heavy, controlled only by sheer will. He laid her on his bed, brushing aside her wet hair, his fingers shaking. For a moment he just stared, memorizing the rise and fall of her chest, terrified it might stop. Then he called the doctor. His hands trembled as he dialed. Minutes later, the doctor arrived, startled by the sight of the unconscious girl lying in the CEO's private chamber. Check her, Arjun said, his voice raw, more like a plea than a command. Doctor examined her carefully, checked her pulse, her temperature, her breathing. Arjun stood beside him, unable to stay still for even a second. Finally, the doctor straightened. She is exhausted from severe cold exposure and fever, he said gently. But she will wake up soon. She's stable now. Arjun exhaled sharply, the first breath he had taken in what felt like hours. But then he looked at her again, lying there unconscious, married, dragged into a fate she never chose. What have I done? He whispered. His mind wouldn't stop replaying the villagers. Furious voices still rang in his ears. The accusations, threats, the chaos that had cornered him into a marriage neither of them were ready for. He had told himself he was protecting her, but now, looking at her fragile, fever-flushed form, he saw the truth with cruel clarity. He sank into the chair beside her bed, fingers tangled in his hair. His guilt settled like a weight on his chest, heavy, cold, merciless. The room felt too small, too tight, as if the walls themselves were judging him. Movements later, the door burst open. Arjun! It was his father's voice, steady, authoritative, yet tinged with confusion. His mother and sister stood behind him, their eyes widening when they saw an unconscious girl lying in Arjun's bed. His father stepped forward, frowning. He asked, "What is going on? Who is this girl? Why did you bring her here?" For a moment he couldn't speak. His throat burned with the weight of the truth he had been trying and failing to carry alone. "Dad," his voice cracked. "She's my wife," he finally whispered. His father's brows shot up. His sister gasped softly. His mother's hand flew to her mouth. "Arjun, what do you mean?" He forced himself to continue, each word scraping out of him like it cost a piece of his soul. "We were caught in the storm. She fainted, fever, cold. Villagers saw us together in that state and forced." He stopped, voice cracking. The room fell silent. His guilt filled every corner, every shadow, every breath. His father exhaled slowly, rubbing his forehead, overwhelmed. Then Ria stirred. It was so faint, so fragile that at first Arjun thought he imagined it. A soft tremor in her fingers, a small shift of her head. Then her lashes fluttered, struggling against the heaviness of fever and exhaustion. Ria's eyes finally opened. Her gaze drifted across the unfamiliar room, the luxurious furniture, and then her eyes landed on Arjun. Arjun shot to his feet instantly. "Ria," his voice cracked. Confusion spread across her face, slow, dawning, unsettling. Her eyes widened abruptly, landing on the garlands from the rushed ceremony, the faint traces of a ritual she couldn't remember. That was the moment realization struck her. Before she could form a single word, the doctor stepped forward, voice gentle, cautious. "You're conscious now, good," he said, checking her pulse. He turned to Arjun. She's stable. The fever is coming down, just make sure she isn't stressed. But his sentence was cut short by the sound of hurried footsteps rushing down the hall. Her parents. They burst into the room, faces pale, eyes red with fear and disbelief. Rhea! Her mother rushed to her, cupping her face. Are you all right? Are you hurt? Rhea looked at her parents with desperate eyes. Mom, Dad, her voice was small, lost. Arjun's family stepped in behind them, his father, his mother, all of them wearing the same expression, shock, confusion, dread. Rhea's father turned on Arjun with a fury that shook the air. What have you done to my child? His voice boomed through the room like thunder. Arjun's breath hitched. He didn't lift his head. He couldn't. Rhea's mother stood shielding her daughter as if protecting her from a monster. You brought her here unconscious, married without even telling us, she cried, her voice breaking. Each word hit him hard because he had no defense, no explanation that would make this right. His shoulders stiffened, guilt tightening in his chest until it was almost painful. His mother stepped forward, trembling but trying to hold the room together. Please calm down, she said softly. I understand your pain, but at least listen to him. Listen, Rhea's mother snapped, tears streaking down her cheeks. Listen to what? What explanation is left when he's already ruined her life? His father finally spoke, voice tense but firm. He didn't do this on purpose. She was dying in that storm. He saved her life. The room went still. Rhea's eyes wide, trembling, lost, kept bouncing from one face to another, trying to grasp pieces of a reality that felt like a nightmare. She clutched her mother's arm, voice faint and broken. Mom, what's happening? Her mother immediately pulled her into a protective embrace. Nothing, child, nothing, you are fine. Come, let's go home. Her father murmured. He gently helped her to sit up, supporting her weak form, but Arjun's mother stepped forward sharply, blocking their path. Please stop. Her voice was soft but unyielding. She needs rest. She's still recovering. Rhea's mother glared at her. We'll take care of her at home. This is her home, Arjun's mother said quietly, her eyes flicking toward the garlands still hanging in the room, the silent proof no one wanted to acknowledge, even though it is hard to accept. The truth is in front of us. Rhea's mother flinched as though someone had struck her. No, she whispered, clutching her daughter's trembling hand tighter. No, she is our daughter. Yes, Arjun's mother replied, her voice gentle but firm. She is your daughter, but now she is also his wife. Rhea's father swallowed hard, his breath shaking. So you're saying we must leave her here, like this, after everything that happened? Arjun's mother lowered her gaze. I am saying we don't have a choice. Rhea's mother looked at her daughter, still fragile, still shivering, still trying to understand the nightmare unfolding around her. Tears filled her eyes as the truth settled, slow, suffocating, merciless. I know, Arjun's father said, his voice breaking for the first time. I know none of this is fair. None of this is right, but what is done is done. And now all we can do is protect her from further damage. Realization settled on them, heavy, bitter, undeniable, taking her now. Would break her life more than anything else. The weight of the truth hit Rhea's parents like a physical blow. The girl they had raised, fearful, fragile, innocent, was now bound to a fate they could not undo. Their faces fell, the anger and shock giving way to reluctant acceptance. Rhea's father swallowed hard, the fight draining from him. We have no choice, he murmured, his voice barely audible. Please take care of her, his mother said again, her eyes meeting theirs one last time. We will return, but for now she is yours to protect. The parents lingered a moment longer, as if the air itself refused to release them from the shock. Then, slowly, reluctantly, they turned, stepping toward the door. We should leave. Let her rest, Arjun's mother said softly, placing a gentle hand on his shoulder. Arjun hesitated, looking down at Rhea, her fragile form still shivering under the blankets. Slowly, he turned and left the room, the door clicking softly behind him. The silence that followed was almost unbearable. Rhea lay there, her eyes slowly fluttering open, confusion and disbelief clouding her gaze. The truth began to seep in. She was married to her boss, to the cold, untouchable CEO. The reality pressed against her chest like a vice, leaving her breathless, trembling, furious, and terrified all at once. Later, his mother returned with food, quietly placing it on the table. Rhea refused to eat at first, shaking her head, her body tense with fear and anger. I'm not hungry, she whispered, her voice fragile, defensive. His mother sat beside her, patient and calm. You need to eat. You're still weak for your own sake, she urged. For a long moment, Rhea stared at the food, her hands trembling. Then slowly, almost reluctantly, she picked up a spoon. Each bite tasting of bitterness, resentment, and the cruel inevitability of a fate she had never chosen. Rhea didn't leave her room. The door remained shut, a barrier between them, and each passing hour felt like a blade twisting in Arjun's chest. He wanted to go in to speak, to beg her forgiveness, but every time he approached, the fear of her anger, her hurt, stopped him. A week had passed. Since the storm, Arjun hadn't set foot in the office. When Amit returned, he noticed something was wrong. Arjun hadn't answered a single call, hadn't replied to a single message. That alone was alarming. Arjun never ignored work. Unease twisting in his gut, Amit drove straight to Arjun's house. He found Arjun in the living room, the memories of the past week etched into every tense line of his face. Arjun, where have you been? Amit began, worry lacing his voice. Arjun didn't look at him at first. His fingers were clenched tightly as if he were holding himself together. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely a whisper. I messed up, Amit. I messed up everything. Amit stepped closer, concern tightening his features. Arjun, what are you talking about? Arjun's breath trembled as he exhaled, his shoulders collapsing under the weight he had been carrying for days. And then Arjun told him everything. I wanted to confess to her, he said quietly, each word cracking at the edges. To finally tell her how I feel, and now look at what I've done. His voice broke, guilt tightening his throat. I ruined her life, Amit. Amit stepped closer, gripping Arjun's shoulder firmly. Listen to me, you didn't ruin her life. The situation was out of your hands. Arjun's jaw tightened, his eyes burning. Don't defend me, Amit. You didn't see her, she hasn't stepped out of that room in days. She's locked in that room because of me. Then bring her out, Arjun, Amit said, his voice low but unwavering. Bring her back to normal, it's the only way. He knew Amit was right. Arjun spent the rest of the day replaying Amit's words in his mind. That evening he went to his mother. Mom, his voice was low, strained. Can you please talk to her? Ask her to come to the office tomorrow. Maybe it will help. His mother studied him, his hollow eyes, the weight dragging down his shoulders. I'll speak to her, she nodded. Then spoke to Rhea. At first, Rhea hesitated, but after a long pause she agreed. And that was how, after days of silence and closed doors, Arjun finally found himself driving her to the office. The air between them was thick, tense, every second a reminder of everything unspoken. When they reached, Arjun opened her door, his hand trembling. Rhea, voice cracked, the first word he had spoken to her since the storm. If you feel uncomfortable at any moment, you can tell me. I won't force anything. I want you to feel safe, that's all. In the office, everyone froze the moment Arjun walked in with Rhea. Their stunned eyes followed the newly married couple, but not a single person dared to whisper a word. Arjun kept his distance, speaking to her only when necessary, quiet, careful, controlled. Life began settling into a rhythm. And then, it happened. Rhea's body began changing. Subtle at first, fatigue, nausea, dizziness. She assumed it was stress or weakness. She ignored it, pushed through it, until one morning she collapsed. Arjun caught her before she hit the floor, terror ripping through him. Rhea! His voice cracked as he lifted her into his arms. His mother rushed in, panic-stricken. Call the doctor now. Minutes later, the doctor arrived, examined her carefully, Mr. Arjun. Congratulations, your wife is pregnant. The word struck her like lightning, spreading disbelief, fear, anger, and something deeper she didn't dare name. Rhea shut herself away completely again. She refused to eat. She refused to speak. Sometimes she simply sat on the edge of the bed, staring at nothing, as if her mind had gone somewhere far away just to escape him. But Arjun didn't give up. Arjun tried to speak to her, gently, carefully, but every time she looked through him like he was a stranger in her home, a stranger who had taken too much from her. Rhea! His voice trembled every time he approached her. Please listen to me. I know I've made mistakes, unforgivable ones, I won't deny that, but please don't hurt yourself more. I'll bear your anger, your hatred, everything, just not your suffering. She looked at him finally, and something inside her snapped. Her voice rose, trembling with pain. I feel trapped. My whole life has been decided without me, marriage, truth, now this child. I don't even know how to process any of this. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, he whispered, voice shaking. But Rhea, believe me when I say this, only wanted to confess my love to you. To hear my name on your lips just once, to have you look at me the way I've always looked at you. That was all I ever wanted, not to hurt you. For a long moment, silence stretched between them, broken only by the sound of his uneven breath. Days turned into weeks, and though Rhea still carried unease in her heart, her body was changing, life growing inside her. The pregnancy brought weakness, sleepless nights, and sudden waves of pain, but in those moments, Arjun's love only grew fiercer. He still made sure her meals were brought on time, that her medicines were kept by her bedside, and that she never had to lift a finger. But instead of forcing his presence, he allowed her silence. When she wanted to sit alone, he remained at a distance, watching but not intruding. Rhea noticed the change. When she rose in the mornings, he wasn't shadowing her every step, but she'd find the water jug already filled, her slippers neatly placed, the room warm just enough so she wouldn't feel the chill. Sometimes she would fall asleep on the couch, and instead of waking her, he would quietly drape a blanket over her and leave the room. At night, when she stirred awake, she would catch glimpses of him, standing by the door, eyes filled with a storm he kept hidden, as if he was fighting his own urge to come closer. At night, when exhaustion finally pulled her into sleep, Arjun sat beside her, watching her sleeping face relax, the tension slowly fading from her features. He leaned close to her still flat body, voice barely a whisper. "Hello, little one, it's your dad," he murmured with a shy smile. "I know I made your mother cry and I'm sorry, but I promise I'll take care of both of you." His fingers brushed the edge of the blanket, tender and careful. "I can't wait to meet you. Just come safely, Rhea's eyelashes fluttered. He froze. "Did I wake you? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, I was just leaving." His voice was gentle, almost embarrassed as he stood to leave. "Arjun!" Her voice came out soft, unexpectedly gentle. Arjun froze at the sound of her voice. For weeks she had only spoken in anger, in fear, or not at all. But now her tone was soft, fragile, almost reaching. He turned slowly. "Yes, Rhea." She looked at him, hand resting unconsciously on her stomach. Her eyes glistened, not with hurt this time, but something gentler, something unsure. "You really meant all that, didn't you?" she whispered. Arjun's breath trembled. "Every word. I don't expect your forgiveness. I just want to protect you, both of you, even if you never love me back." A long silence stretched between them, soft, warm, trembling. "I'm still hurt," she murmured. "Still scared, but I don't want to do this alone." "You'll never be alone again," he vowed, voice cracking. For the first time, she didn't pull away when he covered her hand with his. And in that quiet night, two hearts that had been breaking slowly began to mend. Not with a grand confession, not with sudden love, but with a one step toward each other. A beginning, their beginning.